Hey everyone, this is Dr. Casey Johnson. Thank you so much for taking time to listen to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I know you're going to love today's episode with Shana Moore. Shana is doing some amazing work and has an incredible story, so I'm excited to have her on to share her story with you guys. If you've been loving the Unlock Wellness podcast, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. The Unlock Wellness podcast is now on patreon.com. Patreon is an amazing site that allows you to support your favorite podcasts. You can learn more by going to patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson. Also, be sure to follow me on social media to keep up with the latest podcast episodes. The best way to connect with me is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. My username across the board is at Dr. Casey Johnson. That's DrKaseyJohnson. You can also check out my website at drcaseyjohnson.com. It has all of the past podcast episodes and more information about each guest under the Listen tab. While you're on my site, be sure to check out the Shop tab, where you can check out my first book of my Healthy Children's Book series and learn about the Unlock Wellness Project, which supplies a wellness bag to a child in need for each book purchased. Thank you again for listening. I hope this episode leaves you feeling inspired to start making positive changes to your health. Now it's time for today's episode. I hope you love my conversation with Shana Moore. Welcome to the Unlock Wellness podcast. I'm Dr. Casey and excited for today's guest. I'm here with Shana Moore. And Shana's story is extremely inspiring. She's completely transformed her health and life with the plant-based diet. She's lost 100 pounds and is passionate about spreading her love of fitness and plant-based eating with as many people as possible. So I'm just excited to have her on to share her story. But Shana, thank you so much for taking time to come on. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we jump into your backstory a little bit? First off, where you're from and what's your health and wellness look like at a younger age?
Okay. So I'm a military brat, but I consider myself to be from California. I grew up mostly in Northern California on different military bases. But I guess like in terms of like my health and fitness, like as a kid, I was always super active. But I didn't always have like the best food choices. And I was definitely like, when I look back at photos of myself, like in my head, I always was aware that I was bigger than the other kids. Like I had found a diary of mine. I was only 9 years old and I was like saying how I need to go on a diet and lose weight, like already so young. So I definitely had a bit of, I guess, some insecurities and just thinking I was so fat and stuff. But I wasn't that bad. But anyways, it goes to what I'm just trying to say is I definitely did. I was bigger than the other kids and my mom was sensitive to it too. So she would always try to help me. Like she would come to Weight Watchers with me, even though she didn't need to lose weight, but she'd try to go through the process of, trying to make healthier choices. But as a kid, I just liked what I liked. And I had 2 parents who worked. And so a lot of times we were left to I was just with my older brother at the time and we were left to doing like microwave dinners, or we would go to what they call in the military, they have this eating place called the galley. And it's essentially kind of like a buffet. You can go there and get like whatever you want. I don't remember there being any restrictions ever, but it was, I guess like the probably closest thing to home cooked meals that I would receive, even though they weren't cooked by my family. The only times I really ate like home cooked meals were during the holidays or like a special occasion where everyone could just not work and come together. It was a lot of convenience and processed eating growing up, but it didn't really become like a huge problem until I left for college.
So once you got to college, that's when you kind of hit the peak of it, as far as just like weight gain?
Yeah, definitely. I've always been a pretty emotional eater, and it took me forever to realize that. But when I went away to college, it was my first time being on my own. So my mom and like family used to kind of push athleticism on me. Like I had to do track and field, I had to play tennis and baseball and all these kinds of things. And I think that was like her way of trying to keep me healthy and keep my weight manageable. But when I went to college and had the free will to make my own decisions, of course, I didn't exercise or do any sports or anything like that. I started like the partying and staying up late and getting stressed out from finals and eating too much like pizza, whatever. The cafeteria food, I went through like all my meal points before the and the school was even my first year of school was even over. I had finished all my meal points, and yeah, I just ballooned. Like I gained 50 pounds my freshman year, and I was so embarrassed like to come home, for summer vacation and like face my peers, my friends and family, and it was just really awful. I fell into a pretty deep depression.
Well, it's like, it's like a cycle, Shana, because, when people emotionally eat and then they gain weight, then obviously that causes more stress, and then you eat more. You know what I mean? It's just like this,
exactly.
It's just this cycle that keeps on going. And I know college is a rough one for a lot of people.
Yeah, that's definitely the way it is.
Yeah. And like at your heaviest, did you feel, did you have hope that you could change it all? Or were you kind of just feeling like this is how it is? Maybe I'll lose some weight, but I'll never be a certain way. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So yeah, for a long time, I was in denial about just being big boned.
Yeah.
But, I also, it was very obvious I had a problem after I gained so much weight. I hit my heaviest 250. And during all this time, like all these years, I also was, went on Atkins diet, did South Beach, did Weight Watchers, calorie counting, like you name it. And I probably have done it at some point, and they all work until they don't work, and so I got really depressed, and I turned 18 and was able to make my own decisions without having any, parental guidance or restriction from them. And I decided to get gastric bypass surgery. I got the one called, it's called like a vertical sleeve gastrectomy. And so essentially all that one does is it physically removes a portion of your stomach. So you're forced, you can like literally not, I would eat like a tablespoon and be full when I first had this surgery.
That's when you were 18?
I think I was like maybe 19. It was like, I think my junior year of college. It was like at least a decade ago from today.
Yeah, that's crazy. So how'd you respond to that?
How did who? My family?
No, well, how did you respond, and how did your family respond as well?
Well, I looked at the surgery as like a beacon of hope, I suppose, to go back to answer your question. Like I failed so many other ways and methods. Like this is going to force me to not put food in my mouth. Like it's going to be the answer and solve my problems. And like, spoiler alert, I was wrong. But I had to learn the hard way, I suppose. And so that's what I kind of love to share my story to hopefully reach other people who are considering this route. And I don't know, hopefully not necessarily save them, because I think there's a time and place for surgery. But at that time, like now I realize the surgery didn't work. It's because I didn't work. And yeah, so I had lost about like 80 pounds from the surgery. I regained it all.
Man. Did you have complications at all?
I didn't, thankfully.
Yeah.
I didn't have any complications. I maybe because I was so young or so. Yeah. I was able to heal really quickly and all. But my family was supportive. And this is interesting to say, because a couple other family members actually followed my footsteps, because in general, like obesity, diabetes and such like runs through my family. And so I don't know, I'm kind of like trying to choose my words carefully, because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or so. But I kind of wish that like now, if I had someone close to me come to me for these issues, my response would have been so different than it was back then.
Yeah, because I mean, that's young. I mean, I'm sure that happens a lot at 18, 19, but I honestly haven't heard anybody, like I haven't met anybody personally that's had it that young. So that's a big decision at that age.
Totally. And to make that decision and not be in the correct mental state is awful.
Yeah, because that's what I had a podcast guest on, or I mean, probably more than one, just because it, like, the mental health side of it is so important. It's like, you know, you can lose a bunch of weight or lose weight and gain it back, but if you're not like in that right state of mind, it really doesn't matter, because it's, you know, you have to be in that right state of mind to want to lose it for the right reason, so it's sustainable. Because you can lose a bunch of weight and still be depressed and have anxiety as well. So it's really, it all comes together. You can't just pick and choose one or the other.
It's completely true. Like, I'll tell you that, like, if you don't like yourself now, you're not going to like yourself when you're 100 pounds lighter. Like, you might think you will, because like all these like new things are coming, like you can fit into these different clothes or whatever. But at the end of the day, it was all mental for me. I had some issues that I needed to resolve. And I think my weight was just a symptom of that. And I just never, I tried to take a shortcut, I suppose.
Whenever you were, you know, you had to gain a bunch of weight, maybe even after the surgery too, when you had gained it back, like, did you ever reach a point to where you shut yourself off socially? Just because, I mean, once you go through all of that, I'm sure your confidence can't be in a great place. Like you just said, your mindset's not in a great place.
Yeah, that's a good point, because not only was I kind of mentally sick when I made that decision, but imagine regaining all that weight and having to face everyone else again after they know. I mean, maybe not everyone knew I had the surgery, but a lot of my close people did. And so to see, like, be such a, I guess, an example of failure. Yeah, I mean, that's the complete truth. So yeah, that definitely was hard. And I used to, like, I'm actually kind of going through something weird right now too. And my, I guess, reaction and the way that I cope is to actually shut myself off from everyone. So yes, to answer your question.
Is that why you're doing your social media cleanse?
It is. Not because of weight loss or anything, but like my mental space right now could be in a better place. And I just kind of need to, or at least the way I deal is I just kind of retreat to within myself and try to do a lot of, like, you know, reflection and questioning my mind and my thoughts without all the distraction of, like, this person's doing this, or the news, like something awful is happening, this person died. Like, all that stuff is just noise that distracts me from being in touch with myself, I suppose. But
yeah, I feel like everybody goes through those cycles though, Shana, of just like, you're in an awesome spot and then just something kind of throws you off, and it might not even be major, but like you have to regroup and like take some time to yourself and collect your thoughts, however that is for you, and just like come back even stronger. Like, I feel like that's a natural growth process. Like, I think if you're not regrouping and growing, then there's a problem.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. I think it's normal. But I love that though. And I mean, so after the surgery, you gained a bunch of weight back, which obviously sucks, not only physically, but it's messing with your mindset. So what kind of happened from there? Like, what was the tipping point to where I need to actually make changes? Like, the surgery isn't just a magic pill. You know what I mean? It's just like, what was the tipping point to where you decided I have to actually make a lifestyle change?
So yeah, I kept trying in different methods to re-lose the weight. I had like settled, I guess, plateaued a bit at like my 200s, and I'm 31 now. So when I was 28, I had gone to the doctor. I don't know what it was for, but I went and got my blood test done and had the results, in which my doctor at the time she let me know that I had high cholesterol. And it wasn't even like that drastic, like high cholesterol, but it was enough that scared me because she basically gave me options of how to lower it, which she said I could lose weight, or I can, like, you know, consider medications. And I was just kind of like, okay, no, because I'm too young for medications.
Right.
Like, I don't know what side effects that's going to have if I'm going to be dependent on it for the rest of my life. Like I said, my family has a history of high cholesterol, blood pressure, heart disease, death, unfortunately. And that was just really, I guess that was my wake up call. It could becomes interesting enough, like prior to that, even though I was always really heavy, like I'm only 5'2", so 250 on my frame is a lot. I didn't really have like anything scary health wise, and I didn't really have any other motivating factor to lose weight besides just wanting to be skinny or like an aesthetic purpose. So when I finally had a health, like, hey, something's happening to you, that's when I was like, okay, what can I do from here? Like, we got to do something, Shana. And that was like the best blessing I've ever had, honestly, because finally I could just focus on adopting healthy habits for the sake of my health and for the sake of just me, like, wanting to be at my best at all times. And that allowed me to decouple my superficial reasons to lose weight with something that was actually meaningful. So, for example, prior to that, I would work out, I would get like into some workout routine and work my butt off, maybe like restrict my calories way too much or something drastic. I would step on the scale. Maybe I lost a pound that week. Maybe I gained a pound that week. Whatever it was, it just wasn't enough for me. Like the results didn't happen fast enough. And I would just quit. Being an emotional eater, I would go back to like my 10 of Oreos and eat the whole bag or, right. It was just like a really sick cycle of just like attaching weight loss to the reason why I did stuff as far as like the health and fitness goes. But now it was like I don't weigh myself anymore because the scale to me is still kind of triggering. I still get discouraged and have like this weird reaction about it. So I just needed to get rid of that and ignore it because I didn't want to use that as an excuse anymore. Now, like, I will work out just for the sake of working out. And if I show up that day, I give myself a pat on the back. Like, that's enough for me. I don't need a validation of a weight loss, like 5 pounds that week or so anymore, which is just so good now.
I love that. Well, it's like you're either, I love that you got to that point of just realizing that, because it's like you're either coming from a place of self-love or you're not. It's like, if you want to eat right and work out because you're coming from a place of self-love and you want to take care of yourself.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with weight loss. Nothing to do with weight loss anymore. And
I love it.
Yeah, being able to reshape my mindset that way, it's like everything else just fell into place on its own. It was kind of a miracle. I like almost joke with people, like, if you want to lose weight, stop wanting to lose weight. Because like for me, it just like I would sabotage myself and just, I don't know, it just wasn't, I couldn't do it that way. I had to come at it from a more holistic approach of self-care and love.
100%. Yeah, no, I love the scale thing. And honestly, I barely weigh myself anymore too. And I've talked to a lot of people who have had a lot of success with gaining their health back that they say the same thing. Like, I haven't weighed myself in years because it's not about that. Because that's when you start to self-sabotage, is like you see a number you're not happy with, and then just like you said, it just clicks something and then it can throw you off really bad. So yeah, it's just being self-aware of knowing this is going to set me off. This isn't, because some people can handle it obviously, but
yeah, totally.
I can totally understand how it would.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are driven by results and measurements and things like that. But for me, knowing myself, it's just better that I don't. I usually only get weighed now when I have to see my doctor annually. And I'm always like pleasantly surprised. It's always, within plus or minus 5 pounds, I guess, of my quote unquote happy weight. And that's another thing. I don't like put restrictions on myself anymore. Like before, I would try so hard to lose this amount of weight by this date or get into this size pair of jeans. Like, all those numbers just don't matter,
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, And obviously you did decide to go plant-based. So how did you find that? Because obviously that's a lot different than the usual as you were growing up, right? So like
Yeah.
how did you find that?
Well, that was really interesting too, because I've always been an animal lover and I grew up like in the country around the cows and such. And so I had this like sense of compassion there. Like I thought cows are cute, so I didn't want to eat cows.
Yeah.
So growing up, like, but I did eat chicken and bacon and like all these other animals. Like I just had to disconnect there. But again, it really wasn't until the motivation of my health that it really clicked. And I don't even know if this is like true, but the way that my mind worked at the time was hey, Shana, you've got high cholesterol. If you keep going the way you're going, like there's not a very good path for you there. So I started like revisiting, I suppose, like all the documentaries that I've been exposed to about the plant-based lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I already had a foundation that I knew that was better for you. But also the way that my mind worked at the time was like, there's cholesterol in all these animal products. And if I'm trying to get rid of my high cholesterol, then maybe I shouldn't be eating those things. Again, I'm not a doctor, so.
Well, that's cool that you had already seen the documentary. So the information was there. It was just kind of like you had to get to that right point to be like, I'm going to go apply this now.
Yeah, and accept it. And then that was like another 2-step thing there, because I went quote unquote vegan for like the first year or so, but my weight didn't really change. And that was because I was just eating processed foods. Mm-hmm. So watching documentaries like Forks Over Knives, like they're probably my favorite, as I love Forks Over Knives. I got all the cookbooks, I love the meal planner and all that stuff. But eating more whole food, plant-based, that was the key for me. And now I can just eat like basically whatever I want. Like I still eat pizza. It's just in a different way and it's cleaner. And it's really interesting too, because your taste buds change. And some people will look at me and like, oh, like, she must be hating life or hating her food, but right. I am like the biggest foodie ever. And if my meal is not like satisfying to me, I just won't eat it. So yeah, it's great. I don't have to count calories anymore or anything. And my weight just maintained. Now I will say that I am aware that like I'm around like 150, 155 right now. And again, it doesn't really matter to me, but I am aware that I could like tighten things up and get like even smaller if I wanted to, but that's like not what my motivation is about anymore. I just want to be happy and balanced and still eat a cookie if I want to every now and then. But
right.
My goal is to eat whole food plant-based most of the time.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that two things I love that you mentioned. One, that just because something says vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. I mean, if you're listening, Oreos are vegan. Like you could go have an Oreo diet, but you're not going to like the results that you have.
Yeah, you're not going to feel good.
Right. And the other thing that I really love though, Shana, is that you said that it's a lot more freeing because you don't have to count calories. You can actually eat when you're hungry and not have to worry about it because your body knows what to do with whole food, plant-based foods. Like it's just what it's made to eat. So it gives you a lot more freedom. Like I don't find it restricting at all. Like I love it because I love to eat. So I can just eat all day and I know weight's going to be fine and I don't have to worry about those kind of things. So it really gives you a lot more freedom. And I think people are afraid because they think they're going to like starve on iceberg lettuce and like things like that.
Yeah.
And it's really the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, so I mean, once you started to apply it the right way, did you start to see things right away that just blew your mind, or was it just a slower process just over time? Or how did it look once you started to really go by whole food plant-based?
I would say it was an over time process. I didn't track myself. I don't know, just one decision, one day at a time was my attitude. I always like tell people too, because if they come to me and they're interested in going plant-based, I would also recommend them to like throw out the terms of like being vegan or plant-based and just eat more plants, because that was like something else that was triggering to me at first is I would announce like, hey, I'm vegan. But then if I messed up, I would quit and go back to my other ways of eating. And so now this mindset is much more compassionate with myself and much more kind with myself. And if I had made a mistake or messed up in whatever way that means, it's okay. And we just get back to the scheduled program, like immediately. You don't have to wait until Monday or until January 1st. Like, it's okay. So, it was just a gradual thing, and it's something I still do every day. And that's, I guess that is a huge point to say to other people, which I know sounds kind of sad, maybe if you're like someone who's trying to lose weight or whatever, but there's no finish line. And so that's why it's so important. You got to find something that's sustainable, that works for you and makes you feel good, because at the end of the day, there's no finish line. So it's not like I'm going to just stop one day, so.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I love that. Did you have any struggles that stand out that you had when you first started, or was it a pretty easy transition for the most part because you've kind of been on a roller coaster with your health for a while and you were just ready for change?
As far as like the types of foods I was eating, or?
Just like transitioning to whole food, plant-based.
Yeah, the hardest thing definitely was giving up the cheese for me. That was probably the number one thing. Because as I said, I wasn't that big of a meat eater. So it was probably all the cheeses by far. I'm like trying to remember.
Cheese is addicting, man. Like I was just home visiting family, and I can't tell you how many people were like, "Oh man, I could never give up cheese." I'm like, yeah, but everybody says that until they do.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's got a hold on people. But I mean, once you discover it and like discover ways to either substitute, like you said, your taste buds change so much. I don't crave that anymore because of all the other stuff that's available.
Yeah.
But it's a process though. You really do have to kind of detox out to get there.
And also just like educate yourself as well, because for me, like, I think the whole ethical side of eating plant-based was also what really helped me stick to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just like another diet that I may have failed. But now that I know there's like so much, there's a lot
it's hard.
to, not only by, okay, so like the animal abuse and such, like that's one side of it, but also just like the items that are actually like the hormones and, just like who knows what the hell, like if you're eating stuff, sorry for swearing.
Oh, no. You're good.
If you're eating like a box of cookies off the shelf, for instance, even if it is vegan, like these cookies have been sitting there for who knows how long.
Yep.
Like you want to eat food that is going to rot and decompose and just be part of nature as it has intended it to be. And so when I come across like items like cheese and knowing how milk and, the abuse of like dairy cows and such, and like just the other hormones and just other ingredients, or I don't even want to call it ingredients, just nasty stuff that they feed the animals and you are ingesting as a result of that. And then also the compassion part of it too, like knowing that I'm sitting down to eat a plant-based meal that is clean and hopefully is not harming any other people or any other animal. It makes me feel really good as well. Like I'm just like nourishing my body, but also being a better, I guess, human.
Right. Yeah. Yep. I mean, you're causing less harm. You're causing more positive things for the environment.
It's like a spiritual awakening I had when I went plant-based as well.
No, I love that. That's very true, though. It's like everybody has their reasons for going, but it's like once you understand all of the positive things that happen from going plant-based, it's like I could never go back just because of all of that stuff too. It's just really cool, all the good things that happen from it, not just from you physically, but everything.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so it's if you're trying to go, like definitely take time to educate yourself on the industry and what you're consuming, and know that you're worth more than that.
Yeah. Have you seen the new documentary Dominion? I haven't watched it yet, but it looks.
I have not.
It's. I think it's like I mean, if I'm wrong, then I'm sorry for you guys listening, but I'm pretty sure it's kind of like an updated Earthlings type of thing. It's gonna be a rough one to watch. Yeah, I know, but,
Yeah.
but it looks good. I'm gonna have to watch it, but I think it might be on Netflix now. But I need to go watch it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, that's new to me. Actually, I wasn't aware that one is out. But
I'll keep you posted. I'll watch it before you.
Yeah, Earthlings was really
Earthlings is rough. It's like so needed to be watched, but it's just. I think I was like already struggling in the first like minute. It's crazy. It's so crazy though, what you don't know.
Yeah, it's extremely hard to watch. I still definitely have images that will bring me to tears if I focus on it too much. So
yeah, definitely. And Shane, I think it's interesting whenever you hear people's stories of people that have totally transformed their lives. Like you have. I mean, you've done amazing. It's like inspiration can only take you so far, but then there's something else that kind of has to take over to keep it sustainable, right? So I mean, like, what do you think that was for you that just kind of took you past that point of inspiration? Or like, do you know what it is? Or I mean, do you know what I mean?
As far as staying motivated to
to actually losing 100 pounds, to actually like keeping a change going.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, it's just what I do now. So I guess maybe that it's just become a lifestyle. It's become long-term habits, the way that I live my life now, where now it's not anything special, I guess, is what it's kind of hard to explain. Like I was actually talking to my coworkers the other day, and I was like, I swear I used to hate working out. I hated it so much. It was very uncomfortable. Not only did I just not like it, and it was boring to me, but also like just being heavier. I had like chafing thighs and large breast and shoulder back pains all the time. Like it was just very uncomfortable. And I never imagined the day that I would love exercising and fitness. And that's the person that I am today. And it's just kind of mind blowing. But also back couple years ago, like I made a vision board and I put everything like I envisioned or wanted for myself. And it included like fruits, veggies, yoga, like San Diego. Well, not San Diego, but at the beach. And at the time I didn't live in San Diego. And it's just kind of miraculous that this vision board is kind of what I'm living as today, besides like living in a mansion. But that might be right around the corner. We'll see.
I love it.
But yeah, it's just a lifestyle change. And mindset is the most, mindset is everything for me. Like, I always like try to tell people, like, it's not, if I had a diet for someone, it's not eat this or do that. It's like all in your head, and listen to the thoughts that you say to yourself. Are you mean to yourself? Don't say things that you wouldn't say to a child. Like treat yourself like a child. If the child is cold, what do? You're probably going to give him a warm blanket or a warm drink. Like listen to your body, be compassionate, kind to yourself at all times, and it will start to change. Like the internal dialogue that goes on in your head. For me, it was toxic. But it's not so much anymore. I mean, I still have my days, but yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And how supportive has your family and your friends been? And I think I saw you're engaged, right?
I am. And this is a really interesting topic. Thank you. Just because my fiance we've been together for almost 9 years. And so he's seen a lot of changes in me. And he's not plant-based, he's not vegan. So we kind of live our lifestyles like completely different from each other. But when I first met him, I was all about like, we were, on the same team, I guess you could say. So it's been a really interesting journey to, like, for instance, he really likes Chipotle. He really likes Domino's. He used to really love McDonald's. And at the time when I'm like trying to lose weight or just trying to make healthier choices or going on extreme diets that I couldn't sustain, whenever he would come in the house with those items, like, it would just drive me crazy, of course, right? And like, I could smell it. I want the fries. I want the pizza. Most of the time I probably caved. And then I would point my finger at him for my failures. And so there'd be like a lot of resentment building up between us and a lot of blame. And at the end of the day, like, the responsibility of what you feed your body is like, it's yours. He's not force feeding those items in my house. Sure, maybe like if he would have eaten those things outside the house, that would have made it a little bit easier for me. But at the end of the day, I had to come to a point where I just kind of needed to focus on myself, regardless of what is going on around me. Be responsible for my actions and choices. And the reason why I was the way I was all because of me, no one else. So it's no problem for me now. He can eat those things, like, if he wants to. I just personally, I'm like, oh, well, babe, don't you want to get healthier? Like, we're going to be life partners. Like, I want you around and we can do this together, and just trying to be encouraging, not naggy or anything. But
100%.
yeah, I'm totally focused, I guess, self-centered.
I think that's a really important topic, because my husband's actually not vegan either.
Interesting.
Yeah. But cool. Like the same thing, like we've been married for 4 years, and then but we've been together for like 10 years, so I've grown a lot in that 10 years, and I've changed a lot on my like nutritional philosophy and just getting healthier as a person. And so I mean, that took me time to get there, so I can't judge him for his own path to get where he's going, because he's made so many positive changes along the way as well. So it's just accepting where people are and just adjusting over time and just continue to learn and grow. And so if you're listening and maybe you want to make that change, but you think your spouse or whoever like won't be on board, it's just like, you can still make it. And over time, like, it's going to be okay. It just takes time to, adapt and grow and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. And also, like, we really can't force anybody.
No.
Anytime anyone tried to force me to do anything, I would do the exact opposite. So I just try to live by example, I suppose. And hopefully other people will be interested in what I'm doing. And so that's what the whole Instagram thing was about, was literally just showing my day-to-day food choices and taking my daily walk during lunch times, like just lifestyle habits that I do. That's just like no big deal to me now, but I hope it make a difference in someone else's life.
Definitely. Well, I know it's going to, just because your story is amazing, and you do a really good job on Instagram, just sharing your story and what you're eating. And, people are always watching, and whether or not they make changes right away, like, you're planting seeds all the time. And I'm sure you have people message you questions all the time or reach out when they do make positive changes.
Yeah.
And I mean, then that's also accountability for you too, because, they're watching you to see how, you live, how you eat, and that's inspiring to them. So it comes right back to that's inspiring you.
Yeah, that's also what makes social media detoxing hard.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm letting a lot of people down, but
no.
Hopefully.
How long have you taken a break?
2 weeks tomorrow.
Man, when you coming back?
I said I would come back tomorrow.
Okay. So by the time this episode's out, she'll be back. Don't worry. She'll be there for your messages.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is the longest one I've taken. I did like 5 days before, maybe a few months ago. And this time was like for real. Just not only just not posting, but just as much as possible, not even getting on. Just like totally disconnecting, I suppose.
Yeah. How's it been?
It feels really good.
Yeah. Other than I've made you answer my emails though. So sorry if I've sabotaged you a little bit.
No, it's funny because I do love Instagram and sharing my story. I love taking photos. I love doing the food posting and blogging, and also like working with different people, I suppose. But yeah, it also feels really good to take a break.
Definitely. So, you've been doing a lot of really positive work. Do you have anything going on in the future that you just want to put out there and share with people? Maybe things to look out for?
Bad timing, just because I'm like in this like, shut off world right now. Frame of mind. So not necessarily, but I always say this, but I hardly ever actually get consistent with it again. I would love to be like a resource to people and like build a community again. I used to have a YouTube channel and was able to build a really awesome community. At the time, it was about beauty and stuff that I honestly kind of don't care about anymore. So right now, if I got back on YouTube channel, and I do have a couple videos up, like I talk about my excess skin. I get a lot of questions about that, about the plant-based eating, get a lot of questions about that. So I'd like to bring my YouTube channel back to life, but revolve around what I eat in a day, like health and fitness and stuff, and keep on with the Instagram sharing and revamp my blog as well. So all those things are like idle right now, but
Gotcha. Well, you definitely should, because I mean, you're putting out a lot of really great stuff on your Instagram, but I mean, YouTube would be huge as well. Yeah. So I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to probably do it. So
thank you.
Yeah. And so I mean, as far as social media though, how can people follow you? How can they find you on Instagram, or are you on any other platforms as well?
Instagram is my main squeeze. I love Instagram. And so it's my first name, Shana, the letter L, and Moore, my last name, Shana L. Moore, is where you could find me there. And then same for my blog, shanalmoore.com. I'm not really sure. I think YouTube is just Shana Moore, but you might try it with the L. I don't know. It's been a while for YouTube, so I'll have to get back to you on that one. But yeah, just usually my Shana L. Moore is where you can find me.
Yeah, no, I'll put all of those in the show notes. That way people can just go click and give you an ad. But yeah, no, so Shana, just closing question that I ask every guest. But if you just had one piece of advice for the audience, maybe it's something that's been your biggest takeaway through your wellness journey so far. But if you just had one piece of advice to give, what would it be?
It would be to be kind to yourself, for sure. Yeah, it sounds so simple, but if you were in my head, you would have seen how awful I was to myself and the things I would say. And you can't be your worst enemy. Like, you need you. So yeah, listen to your internal dialogue and just take a break like I do sometimes, and really self-reflect and challenge those questions. If they say things are awful, challenge them. Why do you say that to yourself? And just try to do some healing from within. And yeah, just be kind, be compassionate, and hopefully you will feel better starting from the inside out. And that just trickles into everything else in your life, including the weight loss, including your career, like everything, and your relationships to other people, if you have a good relationship and self-love with yourself.
Love it. No, that's perfect, Shana. And just thank you so much for taking time to come on. I really loved having you, and I'm just excited to see all of the amazing work that you do, because I know you're going to change so many lives. So just thank you so much for taking time to come on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you loved my conversation with Shana. She's doing so much positive work, so be sure to give her a follow on social media to keep up with everything that she's been working on. You can find her social media links that we talked about in the episode in the show notes, but you can also find them on my website as well at drkaseyjohnson.com. That's drkaseyjohnson.com. Click on the Listen tab. Then from there, you'll be able to see all of the past guests that have come on the Unlock Wellness podcast, read a little bit about each guest, and be able to click on their social media links, websites, all of that. So all of Shana's information can be found on my site as well. If you guys loved today's episode with Shana, be sure to jump onto iTunes, subscribe, and write a review. It really helps me out a lot, and I really appreciate all of the feedback and support. Also, be sure to check out patreon.com/Dr. Casey Johnson to learn more about how you can support the Unlock Wellness podcast. Thank you guys so much again for tuning into today's episode. I hope you loved it. I hope it inspires you. And most importantly, I hope you take action.